Hi everybody, Kerry from Mindful Moves, just talking reading and writing this morning. So yes, I studied high school teaching, did that for a while, and then went and studied again to do ECD foundation phase teaching, and absolutely love teaching grade R. Grade R tends to be that year where we begin to bridge and move the kids across from nursery school, from right brain learning. And while they are still very right brain children, if you do our work, you'll come to realize that children start developing that left brain from age 7. So while they are still there, we are beginning to introduce, so we call it emergent reading and writing, but in that beginning to introduce the things that they're going to need in informal school grade 1. And so grade R becomes this year where I'm still using very much the right brain methods and strategies to teach, but at the same time beginning to show them how to represent understanding in terms of fun, exciting worksheets to a certain degree. So I was once asked for one of my courses. I run a course called Grade R, an overview. We have taken all the years of all the things I've studied, as well as my teaching qualification, and I have begun to introduce all the movement and the right brain stuff and the profiling into my teaching so that we can have greater success. So in that course, I was asked, am I pro worksheets? And of course, when you ask these type of things, there is much debate. I've consulted with teachers from schools where there's no worksheets. And I must admit, any stance where I'm standing on one pole and absolutely disregarding the importance and relevance of certain things is a dangerous place to be, especially as we're wanting to bring that right brain kid over to a point where they're able to represent their understandings in terms of writing and reading. So we got this emergent reading and writing. And what does that mean for many of us? So it means that I want to start checking, absolutely first, checking that all is in place. You know, so often as teachers, we only assess the end result without understanding the way and the means in which it was developed. These skills were naturally developed in the body. And so that's where my work comes in. And so as you begin to learn things that we teach in courses such as movement facilitators, in my workshop 2 Left Feet, as we begin to understand reflexes in the development of the kids and what is actually age appropriate, so we can start mapping out where is this child falling short and what skills are missing. These skills have to be taught, because what do we see happening going up in higher grades is that children begin to compensate. So if I don't have a leg to stand on, if I don't have a hanger, we like to call it, in place, onto which I can build relevant information that makes sense, that I understand, and that is on a muscle memory level. And so how do we learn? Just jumping around here, but I don't know that I don't know. Then I know that I don't know. Then I learn, and things are effortful and they take a lot of mental energy. But as I start introducing them into my day in terms of a routine and through repetition, these things become movement patterns. They become neurological patterns, and so they become automisms. But if these things aren't in place, the body cannot take these habits, or not these habits, these hard, effortful exercises over to automisms, because reflexes and other things are going to be interfering with this natural flow of learning. And so, yes, I absolutely have to go back. I'm hearing so many teachers talking about children copying off the board too slowly, children losing their place and not being able to read fluently, children whose writing is hideous and untidy and they cannot read what they've written. And when I start hearing that, I really get a strong sense that this is taking place because these things have been skipped, these things have been drilled, and children have learned compensations. And so when we compensate for things that aren't in place, what do we have? We have problems popping up all over the show later on. So we have the child who can't write fast because it's not an automism yet. We have the child who's losing their place because these movements haven't been established within the body. So there's no flow in their movement, there's no coordination, there's a lot of mental energy going into sitting, looking up and bringing our eyes down once more and refocusing, finding one's place, listening and watching and being able to listen and think while holding my thought, while writing it down. And so this is the problem. So when we say, I've taught my child they can read and write, it's all perfect, we made them read at the age of 2, we didn't have a problem, I just keep quiet and I smile, because what we're doing then is we're working against the flow in which children learn, and we're going to have these problems pop up later. And so what should I be doing with the kid before grade R and a lot into grade R, more so than focusing on the reading and the writing? I need to make sure the body and mind is ready for the work. And so I need to make sure that this child can move and map out their world in every way. So forwards, backwards, up, down, side to side. And this needs to be movements that are fluid and automatic. They need to be able to draw. So I love it. You go into these shops and there's all these fantastic activity books to buy. And our parents love them, and all these lacquer apps to have, and they're great, but it's skipping the whole process. It's skipping the process of moving from concrete exploration, experience, to starting to begin to be able to map this out, maybe in terms of drawing. So colouring in, it only develops, yes, fine motor skills to a point, but it doesn't develop motor planning, spatial skills, direction. It doesn't develop control in terms of writing and really those fine little muscles that need to be able to draw and make a line with control. And so drawing shapes, and I've got many flashcards, and I've put out some videos on how to actually draw pictures just from shapes. And of course, what do we want to do while they're doing that? We want to praise them and make them feel good about their work. We want that dopamine release for the work well done. So remember, dopamine is addictive. So if I've completed my work and I'm proud of it, I want to do that again and again and again. And so yes, putting things that are age appropriate, that are challenging enough for the kids, but not so challenging that I can't do it. And creating the space where it's fun to learn. And that's the way the right brain learner learns. And being able to draw out our experiences or create stories or brainstorm and visualize and use imagination. That's the way in which we want children to learn. And so, yes, I've got on my Facebook page a little thing. You might have to scroll, but of course I put it up often, this little building block tower that I've put together. And I've put in place the words that need to be built up. And when we look at this little tower, we see reading, writing, and math skills are the very last to come in. And in actual fact, we want to be concentrating on primitive reflexes that need to be integrated. We need to be concentrating on all of our sensory organs. Are they working? Is the child seeing, hearing right? Are they getting the right feedback from their body through proprioception and vestibular systems that need to be maturing? And of course, are we bringing in the movements that allow for that to develop? From there, do we have these motor patterns that have developed, and can they move the top part separately from the bottom part of their body, or the left side separately from the right side? And when they do that, can they move up and down, and can they move across all midlines? So often we only focus on the central midline as a grade R teacher, but there are actual fact 3 midlines in the body that this child needs to be able to cross over. When I have this understanding in 3D, I can take it across to the paper, and then I know up and down, left and right, and I can move across those midlines to be able to read and write. I think the big important thing again with reading and writing is to remember we are putting a message across. And of course, eventually we will learn the abstract symbols that do so. But drawing and being able to read a picture reading, is in actual fact Emergent writing. And we see this. Our ancestors used to draw pictures on cave walls. We used to see pictures in hieroglyphics. We use emojis to express our feelings. And so, yes, the absolute essence of writing and reading is conveying a message. And so as I begin to draw and ask my children to look at pictures and tell me what is in the picture, what can they read from the picture, so I'm encouraging Emergent reading and writing. Of course, reading books with your kids also exposes them to reading, to stories, and uses that right brain which is so in tune with bright pictures and colours and imagination, to then begin to stir up that love for reading and writing, and of course encourage the motivation to do so. So yes, if you want to find out more about reading and writing, we've got some brilliant workshops and courses available. We can definitely take you through as a school, as a teacher, we can consult with you and take you through what really needs to be in place, and movement programs that allow for these things to be in place. And of course, we can then assist you in making sure that these are there before we introduce reading and writing. So it's not so much about an age. It's really about asking, has this child developed all the skills they need in order to read and write? And if they've done this, are they ready to be taken across, depending if they have reached that age of 7? How am I going to introduce this very abstract, man-made style of conveying a message? You know, only English, many languages are written left to right, but there are languages that aren't. And so these rules are man-made rules, they are abstract rules. And of course, the concrete absolutely needs to be in place before we develop the abstract rules. In terms of letters and letter formation, I need to make sure that this child can move in all directions, as letters and numbers require the movement of all directions and across all midlines. And so in order for me to teach reading and writing, particularly writing here, I absolutely have to go back to movement and establish if things are in place or not. So if you're interested, if you want to find out how to do this, if you want to have more success in your grade 1 class with this, get in touch and I can steer you towards the right workshop for you and your teachers. Other than that, have a good day. And please, again, if you want more of these, of course, subscribe and follow us so that we can really guide you along and assist you where you're at.